In today's video, we are talking all about, do you need insurance as a freelance grant writer? We are going to be covering, what does it cost? Why do you need it exactly? And at what point should you be getting in? A bunch of other questions that you might be having around this topic. All right, with that, let's hit it. Alrighty, so the answer is yes and no. Let's clarify this because it's actually not a gray area at all based on how we teach this in the Global Grant Writers Collective. Okay, so the answer is yes if you've made $15,000 as a freelance grant writer. Okay, so 15K minimum, right? So you've hit this threshold. The answer is no, is if you're in your 0 to 15K, oops, my handwriting is lovely, range. So why the number 15K? The reason is this. One, I want you to be bootstrapping and being cash forward and not going into debt. You need to validate you like grant writing. You need to validate you have demand. You have clients paying you appropriately so you can cover costs like this. So this is why I like to see it as this threshold. Like freelance, bootstrap it, you don't need insurance, go do a couple grant writing projects, get paid for it, and then once you've hit this number, you've got money in the bank, now let's go pay for things that cost money. Okay, so that's the answer. Yes, if you've made 15K or more, no, if you're in that 0 to 15K range. So that then leads us to the next topic, which is why would you get insurance? I guess first of all, what is insurance? We should start with the what, forgot that. Okay, so insurance it has a variety of different purposes and we will be going through what the different types are. But the general essence is this. It is protecting you, your business, your life from being held liable, from being sued, and basically being, cleaned out, financially, made bankrupt, etc., like ruining your life. So it's a way to protect yourself. Think about it like why you have car insurance. We insure our cars so that if we are in a wreck, if something happens, we have insurance to cover the unexpected. So the same thing happens in business. There's a lot of unexpected things that can happen. You really cannot possibly know what they'll all be. And this gives you a way to say, okay, I am protected. That's that. Okay, so now that you know what it is, why would you do it? So the first thing I want to ask you is like, if not now, when will you? I was mountain biking with one of my favorite girlfriends. She has a very successful website design consulting business. And we're at the top of this mountain. We've been riding bikes in California, and I say, I'm getting ready. I need to get some insurance. Where is your insurance through? And she looks at me and she says, oh, I guess I never got around to it. I don't have insurance. And I was flabbergasted because I thought, oh my goodness, like the websites are really set up to where there could be, errors and omissions, and you would think you could have some very pissed off clients that could try to ruin your life. Like it just totally shocked me that she didn't. And she's a six-figure earner, running her business that way. And I just thought, boy, if you don't do it, when will you do it? And so I just really encourage you to just create it, make the rule, okay? I hit 15K, I go and get my insurance. I have the cash to pay for it. It's a forcing function to make sure I'm charging enough to cover the true cost of business, which includes insurance. If you look around at every other business that you go and recreate and visit, whether it's a restaurant, it's, you name it, going into an office, whatever, they are insured. So same goes for you. Then it's the topic of contracts. So this would be the biggest driving function, would be that the contract that you're about to sign or receive is contingent on having insurance. So this is something that I've dealt with many times. And the people that require you to have insurance are larger, more established organizations. And guess what? They pay better. Okay, so I've had where it's like if the contract size is under $100,000, which is what ours always were, then the insurance was $250K or $500,000 of professional liability insurance that we needed to have. If I did not have that insurance, I could not have the contract. End of story, right? So next piece would be, what are your goals? So if you're just gonna side hustle and do a couple projects a year, you know what, that's one thing. But if you're trying to make six figures as a freelance grant writer, leave your full-time job, or be able to hire a team in the future, like you just want to know that you're taking yourself seriously and you're building a business that actually affords you the lifestyle that you want, then that's why it's really important that you're taking yourself seriously from the get-go and building a business. So one of the biggest things I see people do is they just think, well, I just don't need to pay for a bookkeeper, or I can do it myself, or I just don't need that expense yet, or I can just keep working from home. And it's like, you know what, like treat yourself like the business that you are, because you will operate differently if you are acting like a professional business owner, not just someone that's freelancing it, making, you know, it's fine if you're making 20, 25K a year, that's fine. But specifically to the ladies listening to this, it's also not fine, because chances are very high that you're just not charging enough for the services that you're providing, and it's not helping you help your community when you're burned out now and can't take on more projects, and you're not actually making what you need to make to have what the lifestyle you want, to be able to give to your community, to be able to take care of your kids, contribute to your family, etc. So like it is kind of a serious matter to me that you realize, like, I'm not just doing this as a hobby, I am doing this as a professional. And as a professional, and my goals are, whatever they are, to run a very, highly esteemed, incredible consulting business that everyone in my town knows about, then take yourself seriously and get yourself some insurance. Okay, last piece, excuse the language, pain in the ass. Here's the deal. Getting insurance can surprisingly be miserable, and here's why. It's a shockingly old school industry in terms of how you still get insurance. So often you end up contacting these insurance companies. They send you back this PDF application that's not even fillable, that you fill out about your business, what you do, etc. You send it back, you wait for them to respond. Like, it is such a clunky process. Whereas when you think about like buying car insurance through Progressive, like you can handle that within 20 minutes of logging onto their website and filling out nice, easy to use forms. So that's just something to be aware of is, okay, now you have on the hook this excellent contract, the grant is due in the next 3 weeks, you gotta hit the ground running, and all of a sudden you can't actually sign this contract because you don't have proof of insurance. And now instead of focusing all your stressed energy into completing the grant application, you're scrambling to try to find and get insurance coverage. And it's not something that happens overnight, because there literally is like a brokerage going and buying you and getting you insurance. So because it can be a pain, you need to be proactive about it and just knock this out. Is one of the things that you do when you're making that leap from, okay, I'm freelancing, I've confirmed I like this, I've made this much money, now I'm ready to go to 50, 50 to 100, 100 to 250. This is literally, those are the milestones we teach in the Grant Writing Global Collective. So this is a very key time in your journey to getting your system set up. Okay, so that is why. Before I go into cost, let's cover the types of insurance that we have. I'll be showing you a couple slides from within the course curriculum because it's going to be a little easier me writing it out. Okay, so here we are. Insurance, the type and amount that's appropriate for you. Like I said, it's not needed when you're just getting started unless it's required by a contract. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting until you hit that 15K in freelance revenue. Okay, so these are some of the different types of insurance that you might think about getting as a small business owner. You have errors and omissions, that's otherwise also called professional liability insurance. So you might see both used, but they're the same thing. And so these protect you from being sued for negligence. And honestly, this is a lot more affordable than you might realize, and this is definitely something that you would be getting. Next is general liability insurance. So this is for, protecting your business if someone gets hurt. So let's say, for instance, I am filming right now in the co-working space that I rent office space from. And if I had a client meet me here, which I definitely have, if they were to trip and fall on the ice on the way out, yeah, they could probably go after the actual co-working space, but hey, they might go after me too because they came to meet me. So it's protecting your business. Even if you work from home, it's something to consider because it's really not a lot more to add on, so I recommend it. Workers' compensation is required by law if you have anyone working for you, not as a contractor, but as an employee. So probably wouldn't be pertinent to you until you hit probably you're in the 150K range of annual revenue. So don't have to worry about that yet. Cyber liability insurance, this is not something that we personally have, but this is specific to data breach insurance. And the only thing I can think, why I guess we don't have this is that we share passwords in a secure password system. You can use I think there's called OnePass. We use OnePassword. There's like a bunch of different sites that allow you to store information that you want to make sure is not hackable per se. But that's something that you can think about depending on your business. And then there's of course business personal property. So this would cover things like your phone or your laptop if they were stolen. So we don't have that insurance right now. I suppose, Alex had a beautiful cup of tea, spilled it all over her laptop, needed it replaced, but frankly, like the time it would have gone for us to actually go through the insurance process, like she needed a computer literally an hour later, so we went and bought our used one. So these, I guess it depends on how you feel in terms of those kind of the cyber liability, business personal property. The other thing to consider is event planning insurance. So if you are doing events, then you would want to have that as well, which is something we're doing for our first ever grant writing unicorn retreat in Sedona. Okay, so the amount of coverage that you need. The most rigorous contract that we ever had required $500,000 of professional liability and general liability insurance. So that's what this looked like. Like this is a screenshot from that contract. And so I went, okay, let's go make sure, went and looked at my actual insurance. Do I have that? And I was like, oh cool, we actually have up to $1 million in professional liability and general liability. So more than covered. So just want to emphasize that like you're not actually needing that much coverage for the type of business that you are. So really, like I don't expect you to see something completely unreasonable when you are signing contracts with clients. Okay, let's bounce back to the whiteboard. All right, so the final thing we need to talk about is what can you expect this to cost? And obviously the cost depends on a few variables. The state that you live in, where you live. For instance, things are a lot more expensive up here in Alaska. Do you have employees? Do you not? Do you have an office? Are you working from home? Right, so these are all variables that will influence how much coverage that you feel like you need. For instance, if you're exclusively working from home, your homeowner insurance would be covering something like, I don't know, if your office were to flood or something, right? So the cost, generally speaking, is gonna be about $300 to, at the very most, shouldn't be more than $2,000. Literally, our insurance is about $1,600. I paid it a week ago, hence the topic. So, but when I first started out and I was just freelancing as a side hustle right out of college, my insurance was $300. So, obviously it just varies depending on your business, but not unreasonable, spread out over an entire year. And for the peace of mind that you're getting and knowing that you're running a professional shop, it's reasonable. The other piece is if you're like, oh my gosh, $2,000, that's so much, whatever. That probably means that you're not charging enough. And this is literally me on a broken record. You should see the members in the collective. They're always saying like, there's this little voice in the back of my head and it was you saying like, charge more. And it's true because you're probably not charging an appropriate fee for your services to really reflect the cost of doing business. And so if you're actually working hard and losing money, like you're not gonna be doing this very long, right? Okay, so last piece is where do you get the insurance? Where do you start? So I recommend starting by going to other small businesses that are in your community and asking them, specifically other consultants, et cetera, and saying, hey, where do you get your insurance through? Because you have an introduction to an actual human being, that is way helpful. That's how we got our start in terms of getting insurance. That's what I often see that happen actually within the collective, in our community group. Someone will post, hey, I'm in California. Where did anyone else in California get their insurance through? Great, boom. That makes the whole process suck considerably less. If you can't find someone that's like leading you to it's dead end, then obviously you can just conduct an online search specific to your state or your region if you're a province or whatever, because insurance definitely isn't usually, it's not always nationwide or whatever. So, start locally. It's really nice to have someone you can really just pick up the phone and call and ask things, right? So recommend doing that. And that sums it up, friends. All right, let's do a power recap. Do I need insurance as a freelance grant writer? Answer is yes if you've made over 15K, and no if you're still building up that portfolio and getting experience, confirming you love this. Why do it? If not now, when? Your contracts are gonna mandate it because you're leveling up at every stage. You're gonna get bigger and bigger contracts. Depending on your goals, let's go. Let's get you to 6 figures and beyond. And then it can be a pain in the booty to get the insurance, so take care of it now. Don't hate yourself in the future. Cost about $300 to $2,000. Honestly, you're probably looking more at like 5-6 as your average. That's it, you got this. Where you're gonna get it, you're gonna ask your pals that are in business and find out, okay, where else are they getting it? And what type of insurance basically at its essence get an errors and omissions insurance and get professional liability insurance. Did I say that right? That's the same thing. Get errors and omission insurance and general liability at its bare minimum and you're good to go. And that, my friends, is it. If you have any other questions, post them in the comments below. And if you really want to go nerdy on these types of things, you know where to find us. Join us in the Global Grant Writing Collective. It's the only online membership for grant writers that are leveling up in their careers, course, coaching calls, and community. That's it. Talk to you later.